Today I have a solid 15 minutes of 132 random facts for you. Let's go! If you stack the shortest adult alive 3.8 times on top of himself, he is as tall as the tallest man alive. Tsutomu Yamaguchi from Japan survived both the nuclear bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 6th, he was on a business trip to Hiroshima when the first bomb hit. Then on August 9th, he returned back home to Nagasaki where the second bomb hit. When cats in ancient Egypt died, the cat owners shaved off their eyebrows and continued to mourn until their eyebrows grew back. Albert Einstein was the inspiration for Yoda from Star Wars. In 1996, Ukraine handed over their last nuclear weapons to Russia in exchange for a guarantee never to be attacked. This may sound worse than it is because Ukraine didn't have the infrastructure to maintain the missiles. Some wealthy ancient Romans had heated floors, using a technology similar to radiant heating. In the 60s in Turkey, some people worked as basketmen, carrying drunk people home from the bar. The day Michael Jackson's hair caught fire was the exact median day of his life. The oldest shark in the world is older than the United States and has been swimming around for almost 400 years. The first and last soldiers killed in World War I are buried 6 meters apart, and their status of being the first and last was not known when they were buried. Based on fossil evidence, sharks are older than trees. This was the license plate of the car Franz Ferdinand was riding in when he was killed. The First World War was ended on Armistice Day, November 11, 1918. If we built a bridge from Ireland to New York, it would take around 49 hours to drive if you kept an average speed of 100 kilometers per hour. American park ranger Roy Cleveland Sullivan holds the record for being struck by lightning most times, with 7 times. A woman named Violet Jessop was on board Titanic, Britannic and Olympic, and survived the sinkings of all 3. Google Images was created after Jennifer Lopez wore a green Versace dress at the Grammys in 2000. Cleopatra lives closer to the iPhone than the construction of the pyramids. Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses II married 6 of his daughters and had 100 children. The Eiffel Tower was supposed to be temporary and to be dismantled after 20 years, but after the incredible popularity during the Universal Exposition in 1889 and other reasons, they decided to keep it. During the night, the Eiffel Tower's light installation is actually protected by copyright, meaning you're not allowed to take pictures of the tower when the lights are on for commercial use without permission. The world's first commercial flight took only 20 minutes in 1914. It's impossible to hum while holding your nose. In 2013, a man in Brazil died in his bed from a cow falling through the roof. The average lifespan of a T-Rex was only around 30 years. Humans can recognize around 10,000 different smells. There's 3 golf balls on the moon. McDonald's once made bubblegum-flavored broccoli, but they never sold it. The Hollywood sign used to say, Hollywoodland. Male bees can't sting. New York store owner Armand Paganelli won the lottery 16 times in 2 years, securing him $625,000 in jackpots. He bought all the tickets in his own store. If the history of the universe was squeezed into 1 year, everything since Columbus discovered America would happen within the last second of the year. A cloud usually weighs around 1 million tons, roughly the same as 167,000 elephants. The Sistine Chapel and Machu Picchu were built around 50 years apart. In 1961, 2 different comic strips with the name Dennis the Menace debuted on exactly the same day, one in the UK, the other one in the United States. The creators had no idea about each other's work. In the 50s, the CIA considered dropping packages of extra-large condoms labeled small or medium into the Soviet Union from planes. Ants are immune to fall damage. Around 230 million years ago, during the late Triassic period, it rained for more than 1 million years straight. Leonardo da Vinci wrote in reverse, believed to avoid smudges because he was left-handed. The City of London was founded only around 10 to 20 years after the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, first known as Londonium. In the 19th century, French author Victor Hugo was really keeping the brothels busy. When he died, every brothel in Paris closed down for a day of mourning. A novel published in 1898, 14 years before the sinking of Titanic, called Wreck of the Titan, tells the fictional story of an unsinkable ship named Titan that sank after colliding with an iceberg. The similarities doesn't stop there. The Titan was traveling from New York to Southampton. The Titanic in the opposite direction. Both the fictional Titan and the real Titanic sank in April in the North Atlantic Ocean, and there were not enough lifeboats for all the passengers. The Oxford University was established 332 years before the Aztec Empire. Abraham Lincoln was actually a wrestler before he became president, and it's said that in his 300 fights, he was only defeated once. In 1913, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, Leon Trotsky, Joseph Tito and Sigmund Freud all lived in the same area in Vienna. X-rays, the microwave oven, penicillin, the pacemaker and Teflon were all a result of accidental discoveries. Giraffes are 30 times more likely to get hit by lightning than people. In 1889, a book called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey was published. The book has strange similarities to Donald Trump and his son Baron Trump. The story is about a 10-year-old boy named Baron Trump who has a mentor named Don. The same writer also published a book in 1900 called The Last President, a political satire focusing on a chaotic and divided America facing a controversial presidential election. The Eiffel Tower can be 15 centimeters taller during the summer due to thermal expansion. The shortest song in the world is called You Suffer and is just 1.3 seconds long. In the 60s, Swiss scientists decided to drop chicken heads from helicopters over the forests of the country. Inside the chicken heads, they had placed rabies vaccines to combat the widespread rabies among foxes. The plan actually worked, and after around 50,000 chicken heads with vaccine capsules were distributed, the rabies was under control. In the English language, you can count to 1,000 without using the letter A. Right-handed people live longer than left-handed people on average. Mariah Carey makes around $3 million every Christmas just from her song All I Want for Christmas. An ostrich has bigger eyes than their brain. The Romans often added toasted breadcrumbs to their goblets, reducing the acidity of the often bitter wine. According to some unreliable sources, that's where the saying to raise a toast comes from. A single day on Venus is 243 Earth days, and a year is only 225 days, making a day longer than a year on Venus. Venus is the only planet to spin clockwise. Jim Carrey was paid $7 million for his role in Dumb and Dumber, while his co-star Jeff Daniels was only paid $50,000 for his role. These two guys are twins who were separated at only 4 weeks old. When they reunited after 37 years, they discovered that both had been named Jim by their adoptive parents, both loved math and carpentry, both worked in security, both had married women named Linda, who they both divorced. Then both of them remarried women named Betty. They also both had a child named respectively James Allen and James Allen. Lamps in video games use real electricity. The first ever successful plane flight happened only 66 years before we landed on the moon. It's impossible to tickle yourself. Regular bathing or showering was not common 100 years ago and prior, especially among the working class. Many people bathed only once a week or less, often sharing the same water with the rest of the household. A sneeze travels around 160 kilometers per hour. Elvis Presley recorded 786 songs in his career, but never wrote a single song solo. In 2018, a man in Australia sued his boss for $1.8 million for constantly farting, claiming it equaled to workplace bullying. Napoleon never knew about dinosaurs. The first dinosaur bone was identified in 1824, 3 years after Napoleon's death. In the 1940s, a chicken named Mike survived for 18 months without his head after being beheaded by an axe. Because parts of his brainstem were still intact, Mike was able to breathe and he was fed through his neck with an eyedropper. Leonardo da Vinci's painting, Salvator Mundi, is the most expensive item ever sold at an auction, with the final price reaching a record-breaking $450 million. A 73-year-old bottle of French Burgundy became the most expensive bottle of wine ever sold at auction in 2018. It sold for $558,000. Octopuses have 3 hearts, 2 hearts that pump blood to their gills, while the third pumps it to the rest of their body. They also have blue blood due to a copper-rich protein called hemocyanin. Cream Puff was the name of the oldest cat who ever lived. She was 38 years and 3 days when she passed away. Botanically, bananas are berries, but strawberries aren't. 1 in 18 people have a third nipple. The Chupa Chups logo was designed by famous artist Salvador Dali. Near the end of his life, Einstein was offered the presidency of the State of Israel, but he declined because his lack of experience. Having a small penis was favored in ancient Greece, as it symbolized self-control and intelligence. Honey never expires. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs that are over 3,000 years old and still edible. The name Wendy was made up in the book Peter Pan, after Mary, Queen of Scots' role in a plot to murder her sister Queen Elizabeth I. Mary was beheaded by axe. The execution took 3 blows. Pigs can't look up into the sky. During a hunting party, Napoleon Bonaparte was once attacked by a horde of rabbits. His chief officer had gathered thousands of them for a hunt, but when released, the rabbits ran toward Napoleon instead of away. The artist Bruno Mars is actually not from Mars. After his death, Albert Einstein's brain was stolen by a pathologist, hoping to uncover the source of his genius. This is, ironically enough, the word for fear of long words. Twins Amy and Katie from Ireland were born 87 days apart, with one being born prematurely and the other born closer to the normal time. Apples float in water while pears sink. After suspicion of multiple people being buried alive, the safety coffin was introduced in the 1800s, equipped with a bell for the person buried to signal if they were still alive. In Castrillo de Murcia in Spain, it's a yearly tradition for men dressed as the devil to jump over a mattress with babies born the last year. Walter Morrison, the inventor of the frisbee, was turned into a frisbee. After he passed away, he had his ashes molded into frisbees. One was thrown on the roof of his memorial museum as a sign of respect. Dentures in the 18th century were often made from deceased soldiers' teeth. Battlefield teeth were often the most wanted because it meant they were young. Some octopuses punch fish for no apparent reason. The Easter Island heads have bodies. Guinea pigs can poop up to 100 times a day, while sloths come down from the trees just once a week to do their business. This is what a wild banana looks like. The average adult spends more time on the toilet than exercising. Just like your fingers, your tongue has a tongue print, and it's unique for you. Did you know deaf people often talk in their sleep using sign language? The oldest joke ever documented was found on tablets from the Old Babylonian period, most likely from around year 2000 BC. Translated to English, the joke goes like this: something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap. The first joke in the English language is from the 10th century and goes like this: what hangs at a man's thigh and wants to poke the hole that it's often poked before? A key. The actors who voiced Mickey and Minnie Mouse got married in real life. William Shakespeare invented around 1700 English words, adding words like lonely, swagger, amazement, and critic to the vocabulary. In the end of the 1800s, kangaroo boxing was actually a common thing some places in the world. Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean ride once had real human bones. In 1913, when the US Postal Service introduced parcel post service, you were allowed to send children in the mail. Cryptic pregnancies are not common, but they do happen. 1 in 2,500 women do not know they're pregnant until labor starts. The average person walks the equivalent of 3 times around the world in their lifetime. In 2010, Laszlo Hanyecz bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 bitcoins. Today, that would be worth $700 million. AI technology has been around since the 1950s. Q is the only letter that doesn't appear in any American state name. A Formula One cockpit holds a temperature around 60 degrees Celsius during a race. Since 1945, all British tanks are equipped with tea-making facilities. Walter Arnold was the first man to receive a speeding ticket in a motorized vehicle in 1896. He was caught driving 13 kilometers per hour when the limit in cities was only 3 kilometers per hour. The electric chair was invented by a dentist. In 1999, waitress Tonda Dickerson was tipped a lottery ticket from a costumer. She ended up winning $10 million and quit her job. She was then sued by her colleagues for their share. Then she was sued by the man who tipped her the ticket. Then she was kidnapped by her ex-husband and shot him in the chest. J.K. Rowling was turned down by 12 publishers before finally finding success with her Harry Potter books. If you wanted to watch every video on YouTube, it would take around 18,000 years, considering no new videos were uploaded. Walt Disney holds the most Academy Awards, winning 26 times out of the 59 times he was nominated. Ann Hodges from Alabama is the only person ever to be hit by a meteorite. The rock burst through her ceiling, bounced off her radio and hit her. She survived the hit. Vesna Vulovic holds the record for the highest fall survived without a parachute. There was an explosion on the plane she was a flight attendant on, splitting the plane in 3 pieces. The explosion and crash killed everyone on board except Vesna, who survived a fall of 33,333 feet. Only 4 countries in the world have national anthems with no lyrics. During World War II, a dog named Juliana defused a bomb by peeing on it after it fell through her family's roof in 1941. She was later awarded the Blue Cross Medal for her efforts. The King of Hearts is the only king without a mustache. Right now, there's a Tesla Roadster floating in space. A book called In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust is the longest book of the world with 9.6 million characters. If you read 10 pages every day, it would take around 1 year to finish it. Goodbye came from God bye, which came from God be with you. Almost all the files for the movie Toy Story 2 were accidentally deleted during production. Luckily, Galin Suzman, working from home while caring for her newborn, had a backup that saved the entire movie. Buzz Lightyear's original name was Lunar Larry. The shortest war in history lasted only 38 minutes. Being an ultra-crepidarian means you are giving an opinion on something you know nothing about.